Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm very happy to introduce a very nice panel discussion here. We'll be presenting Neoline and the low emission shipping solution that Neoline is bringing on the market next year. Quick review of the agenda this morning. I'm Laurent Corbel, I'm with Windsupport NYC. We'll have three panelists today. Maxime Milfer from the French Embassy in the US. Jean Zanuttini and Madeleine Poulin-Poirier are calling us from Nantes in France. They're at the Neoline head office over there in the nice city of Nantes. We'll have a 20-25 minute Q&A session at the end. So please, any questions you might have, use the Q&A chat in the Zoom, and we'll take your questions at the end of the presentation. Quick word on maybe Windsupport NYC here. We are based in New York City. What is surprise? We've been promoting the transformation of maritime transport, the decarbonization of maritime transport, supporting projects such as Neoline. And we'll be organizing on May 13 and May 14 the Windsupport Summit at the Seaport in New York City. For any information, please reach me at lcorbel@windsupport.nyc. I'm very happy to introduce our first panelist, Maxime Milfer from the French Embassy in the US, calling us from Washington, DC. Maxime?
Thank you, Laurent. Bonjour à tous. Good morning, good afternoon. As you said, my name is Maxime Milfer, and I'm counselor at the French Embassy in the United States, leading the team in charge for ecology, sustainable development, energy, and transportation. I am very pleased to introduce here this webinar, which will allow you to learn more about Neoline and its fantastic project to reduce carbon emission linked to maritime transportation up to 90%, as well as opening a new maritime route through the Atlantic Ocean between France and North America. The project you are about to discover has been and is still supported by French authorities together with French private companies, all with a high degree of expertise in maritime transportation. It benefits therefore from a global French savoir-faire or know-how, which we know for sure will help this project becoming a major step in green shipping. But as any project involving environment and a shift toward a more sustainable economy, Neoline can't do it alone. And that's the purpose of this webinar. It needs partner. It needs support from all stakeholders involved, and especially in the US and Canada, as the ship is due to arrive in Baltimore and Halifax next year. This is why I sincerely hope this webinar will help you learning everything you need to know and will convince you to join this adventure for making this project a successful and long-standing one. And that's it. Laurent, I give you back the floor.
Thank you, Maxime. Before we give the hand to our stars from Nantes City, I like, please, you to answer a very, very short poll to better understand who's on this webinar. It will take only a couple of seconds. So please, if this is relevant for you, please do answer that poll. It is fully anonymous, but it will help us tailor the following presentation. So I'll give you 10 more seconds maybe to please answer that poll, and then we'll hand over to Jean and Madeleine at the Neoline headquarters in Nantes. Here we go, 30 answers. So please keep your questions, raise your questions in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to take those at the end. Thank you for your answers. We have a majority of basically businesses in Europe and North America shipping across the Atlantic. Maritime professionals and institutions, port authorities are also there. Welcome, everybody. Jean and Madeleine, the floor is yours. You should be able to share your screen now.
All right. Well, hello to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Madeleine Poulin-Poirier.
And I am Jean Zanuttini.
So I'm gonna share our screen. We've made a small presentation so we can explain a little bit better about the project and the vessel that is coming shortly to North America. So I'm gonna share it. Here we go. All right.
So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar and giving us the opportunity to present you our project, the Neoline project. So, Neoline is a young French company whose vision is to propose maritime transport services which are industrial, competitive, and low emissions. Low emissions is really at the center of our DNA, but we want also to be able to carry any type of goods, even the largest ones, and in the market standard way, but using wind as a main propulsion system and aiming to go as close as possible to zero emissions. And our first project is a Neoliner 136 meters Ro-Ro, which is the one we'll talk about you more specifically. And the aim of this project is to reduce more than 80% of fuel consumption on its operation in North Atlantic. We have other projects at work to go on a bigger size and to go more massified. But Neoliner 136 meters Ro-Ro, the Neoliner Origin is the first project. A brief recall about the context. The maritime shipping sector is an industrial sector who emits about 3% of CO2 in the world, which is not so much if you compare it with the amount of goods that maritime transport carries, because maritime transport carries more than 80% of goods in the world, but it is quite a lot in total, because it is equivalent of the emissions of a country like Germany. But maritime transport has also a lot of constraints riding more on the regulatory and the societal constraints. This is also a sector which is strongly linked to the fuel costs, and because most of the time fuel cost represents about 50% of global cost of a vessel. So if the oil price rise, then the transport price also will rise. And there is a third factor who is taken to be account, is that maritime shipping is currently concentrated a lot in terms of services, because services are fewer but bigger in size, and in terms also in cargo owner, because there is less and less owners, but also bigger in size. In the current problematic, which is to go towards zero emission in order to be compliant with the objective of the IMO, and also the objective for the preservation of Earth. We have we are talking a lot about fuel alternatives, but most of the time, every time, these fuel alternatives are more difficult to use than standard fuel. They are using more space on board, and they are also higher in price. They are also lower in energy intensity and facing other problems like safety. For example, hydrogen can blow up. There is a lot of uncertainties and problematics with this fuel, and they are not available at time for the maritime shipping. So we consider in Neoline that in order to go and to be realistic with our ambition, we need to drastically reduce the energy consumption, and we need to use a more efficient and more direct sustainable energy. And that energy is wind energy, because wind is available everywhere. Of course, it changed a long time, but it is predictable and it is available for free everywhere. It is very efficient because you directly transform the wind energy into into thrust force for the vessel, propulsion thrust for the vessel directly, only through the sails. But if you compare this with electric fuel made from wind energy, then you can see in the bottom part of the presentation that it is a very long way from the wind to the thrust force on the ship, and so there is a lot of loss all along the line. And so wind energy brings a lot of advantages, and also wind does not have any adverse side effects, does not make any conflict in the usage, comes free of charges and gives independence to fuel production. So this is very, very strong incentives. And this is why wind energy is currently used more and more, and rise again for the shipping industry. We are not the only project which is talking about using wind energy, and we are working together in the International Windship Association, in order to put light on all these initiatives to decarbonize maritime transport. So more specifically about our company. So our company is in fact two companies. The first one is Neoline Development, who was created in 2015 in France. It's a small company with 10 experts, and the company developed all the projects. So the company developed the first Neoliner project and developed the next and future lines. View, and this is the value proposal of this company, is to really blend together the engineering side and the operational side. So we have three axes of development. We are developing sailing cargo ships. We are developing maritime transport lines, and we will operate these lines for our clients. And we are also developing some bricks of technologies that can improve our vessel and our operation. The company is largely owned by its founder under the holding Neoline and Associates, and other investors from France. And we also created another company, which is Neoline Armateur. And Neoline Armateur is financed the first vessel, and the Neoline Armateur will be the first ship owner, the ship owner of the vessel, the operator of the shipping line. So Neoline Armateur was created in 2021, and the Neoline Development is providing to Neoline Armateur a ship management service. Neoline Armateur brought more money, of course, to finance the vessel. And you can see here the shareholding structure with two major players, which are CMA CGM, major container shipping company, which is largely known also in the US, and also Adem Investissement, which is a state-owned company, but acting as a private investor in this matter. And Neoline Development is also a minority shareholder, as you can see in the shareholding structure of Neoline Armateur. The financing was also made using the support of the CIC Bank, which is a French bank, and guaranteed by a state French bank, BPI France. So it's a blend between private and public investment on this in this project. And I will give now the floor to Madeleine in order to present you more what is the product in itself, what is the line, and the service we'll propose to you in the next year.
So the new line that we're gonna put in place in 2025 will be served by a new vessel, a rural vessel, but with huge sail. So the vessel will be a 2-mast with each sail will represent 1,500 square meters each. And it's going to be, the solution will be a combination actually of 2 elements put together. Or it's actually like 2 decisions. First, of course, with the sail, we're going to use the wind as main propulsion, but not only. As well, we're going to reduce the speed. This is what we call slow steaming, which means in a way that the vessel will cross the ocean, but we're going to give it a bit more time compared to a similar sized vessel. So the sailing ro-ro vessel will build the crew, will be able to use a little bit more time to find the correct course to cross the ocean, to have the correct wind, push the vessel on the other side, basically. And also we're going to have enough time to do weather routing. So the crew will be able to optimize the course and then just not using, the goal of the vessel is actually we're not going to be using the main engine compared like to a normal, a general cargo vessel or other rower vessel that we're used to. So the vessel will have a main engine. So we need to have one because it's mandatory. It's for the regulation, and we're going to be able to do the maneuvering in the ports when we're going to get in the ports or get out of the ports. We're working on a solution to store energy with a set of batteries as well. And for auxiliary production, we're also studying right now to have other options such as solar panel as well. And there was that talk about hydrogen, but we're not there yet. We need to have the technology development get a little bit further in order to put it in practice on board. So as we're gonna use the sail. This is how actually not burning any fuel when we cross the ocean. At least we're gonna try to, even if we have to wait 1 day or 2 to catch the best wind. This is how we're gonna reduce the green gas emission, actually. So we can go to the next one. Okay, so now you can see the main particular dimension characteristic of the vessel. So the vessel that we're going to use is a ro-ro vessel. So for those who are not familiar with this term ro-ro, it means roll on, roll off. So basically there's a big ramp at the half part of the vessel. It's pretty much like a ferry. So the crew, when we're going to get in port, is going to lower the ramp, and then any equipment or vehicles or cars, trucks, will be able to roll inside the vessel, roll out and roll in as well. So we call it the Neoliner 136. This is because of the length of the vessel. So it's 136 meters long. It's going to be 24 meters large. I spoke already about the sail, and you've got the detail on the engine and about the speed. So when I said we were going to do slow steaming, we calculated the crossing of the ocean at about 11 knots. But with our engine, we can actually do 14 knots. So the important part here is to say we are able to make it in time on the other side of the ocean. The vessel will have a huge air draft. This is how tall the vessel is. But it's important to mention that those two masts will be able to tilt and then get in an inclined position. So we will reduce the air draft of the vessel, allowing the vessel to pass under all of the bridges to be able to reach the ports. And as well, the water draft, what we call normally just a draft. When we're going to be sailing, we're going to be using a keel that you can see on the presentation. This keel is retractable. So normally when we're going to be sailing, our draft is going to be of 13.5 meter. And then when it's retracted, put back up in the vessel, we're going to have a draft of only 5.5 meter. So that means we don't take a lot of place under the water and we can reach any port, We will be able, the next question is, okay, what can we load? I told you anything that has wheel that can go on a ramp, out of the ramp. But this is many different cargoes and many different goods. We're going to be able to load, of course, cars, vehicles. So we have 1,200 linear meter available. That's approximately 400 cars, depending on the size and dimension. But also we're going to be able to load containers. The vessel itself will be completely closed when we're sailing at sea. So all the goods will be completely sheltered. But we're still able to load containers because containers will be loaded, stacked on two highs on a rolling handling platform, actually. And some small trucks are going to bring those containers and those platforms inside the vessel. So containers, we can load up to 265 TEUs. That's like 265, 20 feet container. And if you want to put it in 40 feet, you have to cut that number in two. So now you can see the line that we will do with the vessel. So it's a line that doesn't exist. This is why we say it's an original secondary route, because there's no straight connection now between Baltimore, Halifax, via a stop in Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon, going to France. That line doesn't exist now. So it's going to be possible for us, and also with the transit time, and no, there's no transshipment if we don't need to go up to Rotterdam and Antwerp on that line. So we can deliver your goods directly on the west part of France. So that's the new interland connection. And we're in the northern part of the Atlantic, so this is perfect for the wind where we are. So we have here an example as well of our committed shippers, which agreed to sign some contract with us. So they have goods that they want to carry either between France, Europe, to North America, and North America back to France. So you have a couple of examples. It's either some equipment, rolling equipment, for example, for Manitou, there's cars and containers. It's all a mix of everything that we can load. And those shippers, they share the same value, and it's really important for them to reduce the carbon footprint as well.
So the first vessel delivery,
yes,
and the start of the line,
yes, We're going to show you some slides after that. Well, we see there's a couple of pictures of the vessel now. The new vessel is called Neoliner Origin, and that vessel is getting built right now. It's at the yard, so we're going to show you a couple of example photos of that. And we're also working on the second vessel that we still need to work on it, but globally the idea is if we can run a round trip in a month, we can add a second vessel. So we're going to be able to offer one call or one stop in Baltimore or Halifax every 2 weeks. So that would be perfect, but we're working on that. We're hoping end of 2026.
So here you have some pictures about the vessel building process. So we started the shipbuilding contract in very early 2023 because it was in January 2023. And so first it had a lot of studies, we'll health tests. For example, you have a picture and a demonstration of the system of the rigging, which was developed by the famous French shipyard, which is called Chantier de l'Atlantique. And then the real concrete construction started in the early November 2023 with a steel cutting. So the first plate of steel was cut about 4 months ago, a little bit less than 4 months ago. And then 2 weeks ago, we had the key laying stage because in the 14th of February, the first block was produced, and you can see on the picture that this block was put on the slipway to start the ship's erection. And then the launching of the hull will be held in December 2024 for a final delivery after all trials, all installation with the mast and everything, and the 6th of June 2025. The vessel is currently built in Turkey, and so we'll take the delivery beginning of June, then bring the vessel back into Saint-Nazaire by the end of June. So it will be the ceremony of the baptismal, and then we'll start the maiden voyage. And you can expect our vessel to be around mid-July, around Baltimore and Halifax in the year 2025. And here you have also a few pictures of blocks under the construction. So still early stages. So it's a foundation of the vessel, the double bottoms. On the top, this is an engine section, and on the right bottom, it is the tank top in the lower garage. So some cargo will actually lay on top of this block. And here you have a few pictures. Of course, it is a 3D rendering of the future vessel crossing under the Baltimore Bridge to show you about a little bit more the size of the vessel and the masts when they are tilted down. And here you have the vessel at sea. So we would like to thank you very much.
Yes, we would like to thank the French embassies, both in the United States and in Canada as well, and also Wind Support. They help us make this webinar so the North American public in general can know us a little bit better, and that we're coming in the next year. So thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and we would like to, of course, we are available to answer any questions, and we would like to warmly invite you to contact with us. We also will try to contact you most probably in order to discuss about the concrete arrival of the vessel, whether what the formalities we have to follow, about the constraints for the harbors, but also for business opportunity to carry freight from the US, from the Canada to the French.
So you can see my email address in this slide as well as my phone number. So you can take it, and if you have any question, you want to stay in touch, just don't hesitate. I'm going to be waiting to get in touch with you. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Madeleine and Jean. We do have a few questions. I think the first one I can actually answer it. Philippe is importing 20 and 40 feet dry containers from France to Maryland. Do you have capacity? So I would say yes. And I invite you to reach directly Madeleine, either by phone or by email, and she'll be able to take it from here.
And we can even add, Laurent, and we can even add that the vessel, we have the capacity to carry up to 30 reefer containers.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
even for perishable goods,
it's possible.
It's possible.
Very good. Thank you. I think that's going to be a question for Jean about the method of loading, unloading the containers. That's a question from Daniel. Are you using some sort of a rolling platform, or are you using the like a similar way to load and offload as on a container ship?
So this type of loading is quite widely used, not well known because not as much as the standard containers, gantry, and so on. But on the rolling business, it's a very
It's common.
it's very common to use to carry containers as well. So these containers are loaded on top of MAFI trailers, which are really very small, low flat platforms, where with a ridge stacker you can put a container on it, and you can even put a second container on top of the first one, and then load both containers on the trailer, load it on board. This is very often used, especially on a short trip. For example, in the Atlantic Ocean, in the Europe, there are some lines with that, and this is also well known in Baltimore because we are discussing with several stevedores companies in Dundalk at Dundalk terminal, and so they also provided us with a proposal, and so they are ready to do it. So this part is ready.
Thank you, Jean. So Daniel, to answer your question, yes, the Port of Baltimore has the experience of using that method.
Yeah.
And another question from Philippe: can you manage a container delivery from Baltimore to a warehouse in Maryland, or is it on our side?
Well, it depends. It depends how your it depends on how you would do. Normally, we are the ocean carrier, but if needed, we can provide some contacts and some local contacts that can help you do the post-delivery operation. That is possible.
Yeah, mainly also with CIVA, because as you know, CMS CGM is one of our financier and supporter. So we can also connect with CIVA to integrate our
it's also possible
service inside a global service. But we are also able to work with your current freight forwarding company.
Yes,
we can also integrate in the pre-existing logistic chain.
Yeah, that's possible as well.
Very good, thank you. A question about the mast and the height of the mast, and how will that impact the or limit basically the access to the ports? So maybe Jean, if you can give us a few numbers and.
Yeah, so you're right. It has a huge constraint on the accessibility for the harbors, because when the masts are up in the normal position, the air draft of the vessel will be 89 meters. So there is quite no bridges where we can cross, I think. So the tilting is really important, and this is why Chantier de l'Atlantique developed this possibility, and also this is why also we invested to have this possibility on our vessel, and so the air draft is reducible to under 42 meters. And 42 meters is an interesting height because it's still allowed to pass through quite every bridges which are present on the North America East Coast. And specifically, we can cross the Quebec bridges, which are, I think, 44, if I don't make mistake. We may also pass in the canal between the Chesapeake and Delaware River. So this 42 meters is very interesting to accommodate that. For future vessels, we are aiming to at least staying below 53 meters of air draft, because above that you start to have problems to pass big channels like Panama. And so we generally 53, 55 meters is a big, also a big limit. For this first vessel, we are far from it.
Thank you, Jean. Another question from Daniel about customer support in the US. So will you have customer support out of the US? Will you be using CMA CGM? Open question for you, Jean.
So,
Yeah, we're working on it. It's not fully set yet, but we're working on it.
yeah, and this is also a reason also for this webinar is to connect with the US authority to receive advices about how we should handle this part, because some of our customers, most of it, directly perform their custom declarations by their own or through their freight forwarder. We also have local agents. We will have local agents in every harbor. So we will name one agent in Baltimore, and this agent can also provide some support.
Yes, as well.
CMA CGM as well could provide support.
Yes.
So we need a little bit more information in order to settle on one scheme, and so to be able to give the support we can in any cases.
Thank you. I have another question from Luis about passenger transport. Is it something that is also proposed on your vessel?
Yes, totally. I should have talked a little bit more about it. We're gonna have 6 passenger cabins, so we're gonna be able to take on board 12 passenger for each voyage. Actually, it could be between Baltimore and Halifax, or if you want, if you have the dream to cross the ocean on a sailing vessel, it's gonna be possible. You're gonna be able to do Halifax and Pierre-Miquelon, France, or France to Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon to Baltimore. Yes, it's going to be possible, and we're working right now on the commercial offer we want to do. We want it to be available to everyone, so we're working on it. So what I would suggest is stay tuned and maybe follow us on any social networks, and we're going to give some news as soon as we're a little bit more set with the organization.
Yeah, for the passenger service, we aim for a start for booking possibility early 2025. And so this is our aim. And what is good also is that every the cabin will have a private balcony.
Yeah, that's good.
So it will be very comfortable on board, and you will also have the possibility to carry your vehicles. So if you have a van, for example, we will arrange in order to be able to load your van on board the vessel, and so you can cross the Atlantic with your own van and make a trip.
Maybe a road trip. Maybe that would be possible.
And in the other side, so that's also something that you can do under sails.
Very exciting.
Regarding the Polytech, sorry, I can see that on the question is about the school Polytech. Yes, we are talking with a polytech school who wish to travel with young engineers, trainees on board the vessel. So we will, of course, continue to work with them on this program. But I'm not completely aware about the recent progress on that.
Thank you, Jean. Question from Robin. I think more for you, Jean. How do you propose to measure stress and loads being applied to the main rigs?
So the riggings will be fully equipped with gauges and sensors. So most of it are constrained gauges at the mast base and at few other strategic points on the rigging. And so in real time, every gauges will be monitored and also sent to Chantier de l'Atlantique through satellite connection in order to monitor the rigging specifically for the first years of operation in order to see if everything goes as planned. It will be the first vessel we use at sea this type of rigging, so that's the big challenge. But it's also good to know that first demonstrator at the scale 1 of this rigging has been in the trial at the Chantier de l'Atlantique yard since close to 3 years now. So we start to have feedback, of course, onshore, but it's the first feedback, and so we are pretty confident that we will not face too much bad surprises and some good ones.
Very good, thank you. Maybe back to the trimming of the sails and the crew development. So the question from Ed is, how are the sails trimmed, and what challenges do you see for crew development? Jean or Madeleine?
So regarding the trimming of the sails, mostly it will be automatic because the system, the solid sail system, can rotate 360 degrees. It is self-supported. There is no standing riggings limiting the movement of the rigging. So you can fully automate it. And so we can set an angle of attack with the apparent wind, for example, 15 degrees through the wind of incidence. And then we keep so the system, the trim of the sails will be kept with the same angle of attack for the apparent wind. So, of course, the crew will monitor this and adjust the course of the vessel accordingly. But the sails itself will be automatically maintained, trimmed. Regarding the crew development and the training of the crew, it is a very big challenge. Right now, it is the rebirth of the use of sail on board a merchant vessel. But primarily, she is a merchant vessel. So we need merchant seamen. So people who are fully trained in terms of navigation, safety, ballasting procedures, anti-pollution procedures, and so on. So this is really very important. And then they must also be a little bit explorers in order to look with us how we can use the most efficiently this vessel on the sails. What is sure is today we know how to use safely all these devices, how to make procedures to use safely. But we do not yet fully know how to use the most efficiently.
Yeah.
And so we will discover it. And then we are on a program with the Windship Association in order to develop a training reference based on the feedback on board these vessels in order to be able to give formation on the training courses on the school of the maritime schools.
Thank you. I switched to a question about emission reductions, 80 to 90%. is there some sort of do you expect a split, or what kind of percentage do you expect those reductions coming either from slow steaming versus wind propulsion? I'm not sure a split is possible there, but
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna find out when the vessel is gonna be there, and also with the weather that we're gonna have. I don't think that any trip, any voyage will be the same.
No, but we like to say that the first factor for emission reduction
It's
is
not
the
using
yeah, it's slow steaming.
it's slow steam.
This is the first one. Energy reduction, the reduction of the energy use. This is the first fact. It is technologically easy, but operationally, it is really a challenge in order to continue to deliver an efficient shipping service. And then there is wind propulsion. It's about if we succeed to reduce by 80%, we suppose to reduce about 45 to 50% through slow steaming, and the rest with the wind propulsion.
thank you. Another one about more safety. Have you tested if your vessel can handle severe sea storms? Would you be willing to share results?
Yeah, so the vessel is calculated in order to be fully compliant with the deep sea certification. So she will be able to handle very, very high sea. But as any construction, as any as anything, basically, there is a limit. So the limit is the limit set up in the regulation, the same limit as for the normal merchant marine vessel. But what is important to say is that when we go up to more than 35 knots of wind speed, we will not use sails anymore. We will be back at under engine, because we want to preserve the equipment. So in fact, the weather routing that Madeleine was talking about is as well avoiding low wind area, but also too much windy area, and also
at the same time
with too much sea. And the good news is that on board this vessel, we will have all the tools in order to be able to alter course, to monitor and anticipate the bad weather, and to avoid it. So I bet that we will be able to have better results than the current practice in terms of bad weather avoidance.
Very good. And another one about I'm not sure that was mentioned, but Mr. Anonymous attendee, will the vessel be French flagged, and what are the crewing requirements?
Yes, the vessel will be French flagged indeed. So the 13 crew members will be divided in 5 French officers, and also 9, sorry, 8.
5 and 8.
Yeah, 8 crew members ratings, which will be mainly from European Union. Of course, if we do have candidates from North America, and we might have some already, we will look at these candidates with attention, of course, and stay open for that.
Yes.
Another question in the same vein, is there a program in France similar to the Dutch Enkhuizen Nautical College? Sorry for my Dutch, but and Jean, I think there is an operation that's starting, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like the other question. So first we need to learn, because these vessels will be first of its kind.
Yeah.
So no reference yet. So we have to explore and to set the reference for the future trainees. So Yeah, we are discussing with some schools, some maritime school. There is French maritime school. There is four. There are 4 French maritime schools for the officers in France, and many secondary schools for the ratings.
Yeah.
So we are working with them in order to set a reference, but it will need the feedback, the operational feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Question from Stephanie. Is the space adaptable? For instance, if less vehicles, could the space dedicated to cars or vehicles be used for containers?
Yes, totally, for part of it. Mostly, I think the normal loading plan of the vessel will be actually a mix of everything that we can load. So it's gonna be a mix of cars, containers, and it's not always gonna be the same, but we have different level and different decks inside the garage, and we also have an open available space to take oversized cargo and like a big piece of machinery for an example, that could be that could weigh up to 200 tons, because this is the weight that we can take on the ramp. So depending on what we're going to have on each trip, yes, we can have a little bit less car, a bit more containers, up to a certain limit. But yes, this is the idea, to have a mix of everything.
Very good. More commercial questions maybe, and again, Madeleine is available for any further questions. But I'm sorry, I'm losing the question here. What will be the structure of any contracts or rate agreements? When will they be projected? And in the same project, have you set up your prices? Will you have your digital reservation platform? Will you be connected to a Flexport as a broker, for instance?
So we're working on the digital booking platform. We're working on it. The idea is that it can connect to the different kind of platform that already exist in North America as well as in Europe, well, worldwide generally. And for the price structure and contract, we need to talk about it, because it depends on the volume, on the types of goods bought, on the trip that you want to do. Of course, small trip will not be the same as like crossing the ocean. So we need to talk about it to be able to propose you a price that would fit your budget.
Yeah, but the price policy is already set up.
Yeah, that's another thing. Right? The price policy in general.
Yeah, it's set up, and we are able to commit ourselves on a short-term contract, spot contracts, but we are also able to commit ourselves on the more longer-term contracts. So most of our contracts are multi-year contracts, and this is where you can find also the safety of being independent from the fuel prices, because in our contracts we do not integrate any bunker adjustment factor. This is one of our major points compared to the standard container transport, for example.
Yeah, the idea is to have a stable price. If you have a certain volume, then you will be able, you already will be able to have your price in your budget for the next couple of years. Yes, so we want to avoid the price making like yo-yo difference.
Very good, thank you. I think we have one last question. Apart from those 2 vessels, what are the projections for additional vessels to incorporate this technology, and over what period of time? So I don't know, Jean, how much you can share on that.
So our ambition is quite large, but we are still very small. So it's a start with the third vessel. The second, as Madeleine explained, we are currently under the financing process of the sister ship. So we aim for delivery end of 2026. And then we will also look for the third vessel for this line. So if everything goes well, we could also increase the capacity of the line with a third vessel, maybe in 27 or 28. But we have also other projects on more dedicated and massified sectors and bigger ones. So we are aiming for projects about 170 meters length in the containers or the car carriers sector, so less polyvalent, less multi-purpose vessels, more specialized, but also more massified. So in their own sectors, they will be more efficient. On these more massified sectors, then we will need to provide generally a weekly service frequency. So it's big projects that we are looking with also strong players in terms of potential shippers, and that also our hope maybe 2027 or 2028.
Very good. Thank you, Jean and Madeleine. I think we did cover all the questions being raised. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Of course, any further questions or interest in utilizing Neoline services, please reach out to Madeleine. I'm also available here in New York City for any additional information. Maxime, Madeleine, and Jean, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to host that webinar, and we're looking forward to the next update on the Neoline project.